Ekonene, sijui Ruto alikuwa wapi, but alibaki bring up story yake ya first world country, and I don't know why he keeps using that term first world, because we are very far from being a first world country. But wacha tusikize.
Sasa nasikia wale watu wa ukabila, wale watu wa chuki, wale watu hawana maono, wale watu hawana mpango, wale watu hawana sera, wale watu hawana agenda, ati wanasema haiwezekani Kenya kutoka third world kwenda first world. Mimi nataka niwaambie hawa majamaa, nyinyi si wale watu hawana mpango, ni kweli? Sera, mpango, sera, agenda, ama namna gani? Sijui kama tunaelewana my friends. Tumeelewana? Sasa mimi nataka niwaeleze hawa jamaa. Nyinyi hamukuamini chochote tuliwaambia tutabadilisha Kenya. Hata saa hizi hamuwezi kuamini ya kwamba we can move our country from a third world country to a first world country. But we are going to shock you. We are going to surprise you, because Kenya in our lifetime is going to move from a third world country to a first world country, because we have the plan, we have the vision, and we have the resources to do it.
Okay, in our lifetime, no, it's not going to. We are too far from being a first world country, and there's a lot of stuff. Hii imenikumbusha kuna mse tulibaki tumebonga juu story. I think tulibonga juu story na Nduta. Ile mse alikuwa ameshare, you go like, this is not New York, this is Kenya. Alafu akaambiwa like hiyo expressway moja inafanya sisi tunajua of course automatically si New York, na tunajua sisi Shanghai, because hizo cities ziko on a whole other level. And I understand the president having the dream, but if I was to try and turn Kenya into something else, I would start city by city. I'd start with Nairobi, and I'd say that yes, I'm the president of the country, lakini we need to make sure that Nairobi reaches a certain level that everyone else starts copying Nairobi. Nachiki. So tuna need kuanza na hii before tuanze kufikiria juu ya the whole of Kenya. Because when you think about the whole of Kenya and you think about places kama Mombasa, makes a lot of money in quotes, but looks like shit. Nachiki. Nakuru looks like shit. Nakuru looks like shit so much that the governor of Nakuru could not even give birth in Nakuru. That's how pathetic Nakuru iko. So hatuwezi bonga jia first world country. And I think saa zingine hizi ndio dreams zingine zinafainigizi. The best word kutumia ni dreams za kipumbavu, because they make no sense. Like why are you trying to turn us into a first world country when we can barely do anything? We are okay. Sawa, wacha tuendelee.
Nyinyi hamuna ama namna gani bwana? Sinaelewana? Si walituambia haiwezekani kupunguza gharama ya maisha? Si walituambia haiwezekani turahishe mambo ya elimu? Si walituambia haiwezekani mambo ya afya? Si walituambia haiwezekani mambo ya housing? Imewezekana, haijawezekana? Hii ya first world mpaka kutoka third world mpaka first world itawezekana ama haitawezekana? Mimi najua itawezekana kwa mapenzi ya Mungu, kwa kura zenu, support yenu, na kwa umoja wetu.
Okay, because I think saa zingine sahau like the gap between sisi na hizi countries. The gap inakuwaga so huge that, but I understand the dream, but I get worried about the dream. Because when you start talking about you'll turn us into in our lifetime, like on the higher side you have 7 years, on the higher side, otherwise you have 2 years. And after 2 years you have to go to an election and you have to win the election. If the next president comes and their vision is not that, then we have a problem. So I have a problem with that when you start giving me plans of very long-term plans. Instead of give me some short-term plans, do the short-term plans, finish time yako, achia mtu mwingine akuje abaki amejaribu nini yake. So kulikuwa na hii, but sasa ikikam to the Ruto succession and who's supposed to go against Ruto in 2027, the one person that keeps creeping up and the one person that keeps looking like he's ahead of all the others ni Kalonzo. And with Kalonzo, saizi nika aswasha notice, this is the guy that Gachagua wants to endorse, and Gachagua kimu-endorse, of course it comes with a very big chunk of votes, and with that they've started fighting him. And it's so interesting to see, because now all of a sudden there's a lot of, in quotes, ODM members. So wacha tusikize some ODM members.
There are people who are trying to confuse people here. They are now trying to tell us how they sacrifice for Raila. I want to tell them, speaking from Kenya, there is a difference. You did not sacrifice for Raila, Raila sacrificed for you. Kama wewe una insist kukuwa running mate na ukipatiwa unashindwa kuleta kura ya kutosha mpaka ipitishe baba, ni wewe umesaidia baba ama baba amekusaidia? Si nyinyi mnajua 2007 sisi tulikuwa, mimi the first voter I ever voted from councillor to president was for the party of ODM.
So yeah, hapa ndio inaanza kuwa interesting because sasa saizi everyone is claiming ODM, why Raila lidedi, so even Ruto mwenyewe amekuwa claim that he is a founding member, which of course is factual, but imekuwa interesting sana because unachikia hapa nani, ukiona umseka amevaa nini ya ODM utasema like this is an ODM diehard. So saizi kila mtu anaifaitia because they are hoping that if they get it then it's going to guarantee at least support for Ruto in 2027. But wacha tuendelee.
Kwa hivyo mtu asituambie as if they are more ODM than us. We are also founder members of ODM. ODM is a movement. We are part and parcel of this party also. So mtu asikae akisema ati sijui nani. Baba akituacha na Mwenyezi Mungu aweke roho lake mahali pema. Wakati mzee ametuacha mkiwa kwa chama cha OD na amewaacha kama jamii, kama mumeungana, kama mnaongea sauti moja ndani ya chama cha ODM. Musikubali wale wanataka kuleta migawanyiko. Musikubali watu walete migawanyiko wakati marehemu baba wetu amepumzika. So,
first of all, kitu nini hapa inakuonyesha gavle Kenyan politicians stand for nothing. Because saizi saa of course videos zimekuwa zikispring up. So apart from videos, kuna videos za Cheruiyot akiongea mbaya kabisa juu ya Raila. Kuna huu Ichung'wah akisema all we are doing is waiting for you to die. No one can ever even threaten your life because you're going to die. So interesting, but saizi ukiona seka ameva hizi ni za ODM, alafu inakuonyesha vile sisi wenyewe pia kama voters tumekam kufika hiyo level where we don't care that our leaders stand for nothing, and eventually when they get into office and they don't do anything we complain, but they already showed us that they stand for nothing. So wacha tuendelee.
Ile heshima baba alituonyesha, akatuonyesha kufanya kazi na huyu Randere na Opio na William Ruto. Watu wa Ugunja tutakaa hapo. Kwa hivyo mimi naomba kwa heshima sana, mumeamua mtatokea wakati wa uchaguzi mdogo, ili tuonyeshe wale watu wa ukabila, wale wa migawanyiko ya kuwa Ugunja na Nyanza, yote mumeamua, muko tayari na chama ni ODM.
So kwa background za bakimecheki Opio and I, they are smiling. Of course Opio is kwanza inge gava like apate hiyo flag I think ya CS wagememnai sana, so I don't think he's trying to lose it in any way. And because of that, one of Opio's closest allies inakuwaga ni Gabriel Oguda, and Oguda is I think maybe vile nini wamepewa ni kutry to come up na ways to discredit Kalonzo, because as I keep saying, Kalonzo is the one guy who looks like a lot of people washaanza kufikiria he's going to be the guy who will face Ruto in 2027. And kuna I think I don't know who analyzed Kalonzo na akasema that he's the least dislikable guy. It's very hard to dislike him, and that makes him in quotes dangerous. Dangerous how? Because it makes him electable. He's not very divisive. Unajua mse kama Raila alikuwa very divisive because of his brand of politics. Unajua, he was always known to be anti the system, so every time that people felt like they were part of the system, they did not like him, because why is he disrupting the system and the system works? But Kalonzo on the other side has always been hapo katikati kiasi, na ukisema nitapita katikati yao, he's always been so kwagi very divisive. So this gives him some very high chances. And in the process, what's happening? Watu wamekuwa kibonga, and one of the post ile ni cheki ni Gabriel Oguda alibaki amedigin, akabaki go back to the year 2007, because 2007 will always be that stain in Kalonzo's CV. Kauli watch interview yangu na yeye na kungadilimuuliza juu yake and the role that he played in sanitizing like an election that killed democracy in Kenya. So wacha tusikize.
They say a picture is worth 1,000 words, and in 2008 this was the picture from Kenya that the rest of the world had been anxiously waiting for. The 1,000 words behind it, on the other hand, that which remained behind closed doors, at least until Thursday, following the latest cable release by Wikileaks that has eventually opened up the rest of the country into the thoughts of President Mwai Kibaki, Prime Minister Raila Odinga and Vice President Kalonzo Musyoka.
Yes, so nasikia po. And Wikileaks ilienda piki to reveal secrets that people had discussed during your time, when everything, like there were secrets from all over the world, the different countries, hata US ilikuwa hapo ndani nini. So Wikileaks zetu zimetoa the conversation that happened around the time ya post-election violence and trying to bring peace. So wacha tuendelee, because this is the video now wanatumia ku discredit Kalonzo.
For the crucial negotiations brokered by Chief Mediator Kofi Annan commenced. The cable, one of the many sent by United States Ambassador Michael Ranneberger on the 22nd of January 2008, documents the ambassador's conversations with all the three leaders on the possibility of peaceful talks and an eventual political solution that would end the political crisis prevailing then. I am ready to meet one-on-one with President Kibaki without preconditions in the presence of Kofi Annan is said to have been Raila Odinga's reaction to his intervention. President Mwai Kibaki's reaction, on the other hand, was not so subtle, the president openly admitting his skepticism over Raila's willingness to meet, complaining that, quote, Odinga keeps putting conditions, end quote.
So hapo utacheki wanaanza na Raila Kibaki, but the main thing tunatry kuangalia with all this Nini ni Kalonzo, because Kalonzo is the guy, like out of those three people, the only person who's still on planet Earth ni Kalonzo, and Kalonzo is the one who still has a political stake hapa Kenya. So
The president is also said to have been skeptical that Raila would agree to anything reasonable, saying, quote, I cannot have Odinga in the government. It is impossible to work with him, end quote. Further, according to the president, there already was a power sharing in place, with him leading the executive while the Odinga-led ODM party dominated parliament, and that he was willing to make some concessions, but there was a line he couldn't cross. Quote, some of his people could come into government, but not him and not Ruto.
Yeah, so kwa watu wajuagi, like 2007 ilikuwa very divisive, yes? And of course the people in the front line, kulikuwa na kulikuwa na Raila na kulikuwa na Ruto, and that's the reason why unacheki Kibaki alikuwa anasema not him and not Ruto. And I think kuna kumkaniki analyze the Raila burial, and when I was talking about why I think that Ruto ended up giving Raila state funeral, ilikuwa based on this, najua. And this is the same thing that nikisema that Ruto was talking about talking to Raila and telling him that, oh, I know this country wronged you. This is still what he was talking about. Ekonene, nimeinterrupt show kukuremind juu ya Lemfi. Kama uko US ama Canada na unataka kutuma do Kenya, register kwa Lemfi ukitumia promo code Ekonene. Hii itakuguarantee $20 cashback on your first $100 transaction. Alafu pia time una register, make sure umetick the 2 check boxes za notifications ndio ukireceive info about amazing offers through newsletters. Na pia usijali, Lemfi hawatumagi hizi letters za, yani unajua, like messages za kipumbavu. Pia usisahau, every time una transact $50 and above una earn points. Na the more una transact, the more points you earn, and you can redeem them as cash ile time unatuma pesa. Alafu pia kitu nanibamba kabisa ni saizi ukitumia Lemfi, mzabaki umelipa pay bills na till numbers directly. That means mzabaki umehandle bills za maparo wako ukiwa hizo maside za States ama maside za Canada. Alafu pia we mwenyewe as a LeFi user baki umetafuta ile button imeandikwa get USD $20, ubaki umeinvite mabeste zako, na ukiinvite mabeste zako on their first $100 transaction unapata pesa ngapi? $20 cashback. So unangoja nini? Baki umechangamka, ingia LeFi. LeFi, international payments for everyone. Eko nene. But it's interesting. You're still going to Kalonzo, so sishindwe like, these stories always zinaenda happy. Still comes back to Kalonzo, because don't forget, this is a very interesting time in Kenya's history, because Kenya was on the brink. There was a lot of violence. The whole country had come to a standstill for close to a whole month. So the whole country ended up losing so much. Kuna tu semaga that we've never even recovered from that whole month of loss that we had. But both lives, property, of course.
Him and not Ruto, end quote. Not quite the situation now. Interestingly, though, is Vice President Kalonzo Musyoka's role in the entire process, a man Runaberger describes in an earlier cable release as, quote, though Musyoka presents himself as a born-again Christian with the purest of political intentions, keen observers see Musyoka as largely an opportunist, interested primarily in advancing his political ambitions, end quote.
Okay, and I think there's nothing wrong with that. We're all trying to advance ourselves in one way or another. Was this the right time to do it? No, this was not the right time to do it. But I can also defend him and say maybe he did not expect what happened to happen. Najua, like this is one of the things ile sikuweza kumuulizia usiku, but ningetaka kumuuliza like in hindsight, would he have left ODM and created that extra 800,000 votes that brought up the whole commotion? I don't know how he'd have taken it, but yes. So wacha tuendelee. So hii Nini natry kuonyesha that what the ODM people wakina Wandai wanatry kuduturu wakina Uguda ni kuonyesha that ODM owes Kalonzo nothing. This is the narrative they're trying to push, and they're pushing that ODM owes Kalonzo nothing purely based on 2007. Tuendelee.
The Vice President said to have opposed the option of having the President share power with Raila Odinga. Kalonzo is also said to have confided to the envoy about his plans for 2012, indicating that his reasons for accepting the Vice President's position after the disputed polls was the assurance by both President Mwai Kibaki and the soon-to-be Deputy Prime Minister Uhuru Kenyatta that they would support him as candidate for the presidency in 2012, since Kenyans would not opt for a candidate of the same community as the current president come 2012. Kalonzo is said to have claimed that if Raila were to be elected, he would become another Hugo Chavez, the Venezuelan president, owing to his apparent socialist inclinations.
So kona shinda kwa hizi story ya socialist inclinations na kuaga nini? Na kuaga mostly I think kuna wase usamaga place kama Europe for example, kuna a lot of socialism. Socialism in what context? At least that's how Americans understand socialism, because sometimes you have to look at the world through American lenses. So socialism is, for example, your free universal healthcare, free education, free. So napataga hizi countries za Europe especially, if you get sick, haikuagi a life and death situation. I remember tukibonga na wase wa Matata, and I think Richie alikuwa anasema vile get treated for hiyo story yake ya his sleeping condition that was treated for free in Norway. In Kenya, of course, you're going to pay for it. In America, you're going to pay for it. In Canada, you won't pay for it. Remember, these are still capitalist societies, like Canada is still. But kuna hiyo level of socialism where the society takes care of. So I think hiyo ndio kitu sasa Raila alikuwa nayo. And you have to fight it, because ukiangalia hata budake na Russia inakuwa hiyo hosi ya Nyanza General, there was also still that element of the community blah blah blah. Okay.
The Vice President is finally, according to an earlier release cable, said to have sought the intervention of the then US President George Bush to urge Kibaki to step aside in the 2007 presidential race, what would have left him as the preferred candidate against Prime Minister Raila Odinga in what he says would have been his, quote, Hail Mary pass, unquote. The latest cable release may have, more than anything else, qualified the words of Richard Amour, who said that politics is seemingly a game that is more interested in right or left and not right or wrong, allowing...
So you know kitu Hassan try to discredit nayo nani, and the fact that unachikio time alikuwa anasema iko hapo anataka Raila cuz Raila angeleta socialism, na hiyo time anajua of course America akisikia jina yote socialism watakagi hiyo story cuz inakuwa ni all about capitalism. But I think itakuwa hard sana kufanya wasewa move away from Kalonzo, the people who are giving him a chance. Why? Because as I keep saying, he's, even after the sins of 2007, he came to this other side and he stayed for 3 elections. So I think kuna sort of sema like, say he's already paid his dues. Of course, did he get what he expected where he was to be supported in 2012? No, he didn't get that. Why? Because ICC libaki may come up. And when ICC came up, of course, now it was more about an election to save 2 people than to whatever. And he didn't need any saving, so he had to step aside. So this is the sort of discrediting ile ina happen, and that's why unachekipia akina Ichung'wah wanatembea around kama wamevaa their hats za ODM cause kutry kuonyesha cause na kama juzi vile Kalonzo alishia alikuwa anasema he was the closest to Raila. So now these people have to dig into the past and try and find out like what can we use to discredit this guy. Is it going to work? I don't know, but I don't think it's going to work. I think this is the sort of debate that's left for, in quotes, intellectuals and academicians. The average Kenyan, I think, already moved on, in quotes. Now, time to the quote used to be accept and move on. I think a lot of Kenyans don't know there used to be that phrase. So like after the 2007 elections that were really messed up, a lot of people died. Alafu kukakuwa na like, there needs to be justice and reconciliation. I think kukakuwa na TJRC. But still, liyo time kuna sema just accept and move on. Accept and move on. So that's where the phrase came from. Chekigi, anything happening and someone writes accept and move on, you have to take it back to that time. So Kalonzo, I still feel he is the one with the highest chances. He come to running against Ruto in 2027. I think he's the least divisive. Kuna msenchiki alikuwa amejam na mimi so moves take on Matiang'i is personal. No, it's not personal. I'm just a student of history. And as a student of history, and I know what happened in 2017. I saw the amount of deaths that happened when Matiang'i was the CS. The same way nitasema in 2025 niliona when Murkomen was the CS. 2024 I saw when Kithure Kindiki was the CS. Hizi vitu zote tunazijua. This does not whatever. For me, for mtu kutaka ni paint the past as this perfect time. It was not a perfect time. A lot of Kenyans died. I think kuna a video that was going around here. I can't share it. It's too graphic, but it's a video of Millie Odhiambo coming here kwa room fulani alafu anaonyesha watu wamededi. Hiyo ilikuwa watu wamededi under if I'm not wrong, either 2023 which would be under Ruto or before 2023. You see, I can't even tell you the time. That's how deaths have been happening in Kenya. People act like deaths started happening up in 2024. And when you say that, you're like, oh, una support Nini Ruto. I'm not supporting Ruto. I'm just telling you that I won't comfort you by telling you Matiang'i is the right guy. He's not. Extrajudicial killings would continue. And the key word is would continue. Why? You'd have to go back to speech ya Ruto when he was accepting the presidency. And him saying that there'll be no more extrajudicial killings in Kenya. So what did he mean? If there were no extrajudicial killings during Uhuru's time, what did he mean? So extrajudicial killings have always been part and parcel of this country. And the only way to solve that problem is to accept that it's always been there. And then we look at who have been the perpetrators, the police. Why have the police always done that? Because they are there to protect the presidency, never to protect the people. So the police always side with the president. In 1969, the Kisumu massacre, the police were protecting who? Jomo Kenyatta. Tukienda kwa the Wagala massacre, ilikuwa ni kuprotect Moi. Ikienda kwa the post-election violence, most people died from gunshot wounds. To protect who? To protect Kibaki. Then ikikam to time ya Uhuru, from akina Baby Pendo, Kianjokoma brothers, nini, it was to protect who? The president. And then tukuja to 2023, 2024, 2025, Ruto, to be protected by who? The police. So the police have always been in the front line, killing a lot of Kenyans. And can that still happen in 2027? Yes, it can happen. But now, as we look forward and as we become a little bit more positive about it, what I can say is I still believe Kalonzo looks like the guy who can mount a really big challenge. And yeah, we'll see how that pans out. Will the opposition stay united, ama will Ruto use enough money to kufanya wasambaratike? Because don't forget pia, I say they stand for nothing. So of course Kalonzo niko sure he can't sell out his position, but the rest can be bought. Unajua, people can be bought and watu wanazalipwa pesa na you know what, I'm not running, I'm supporting this guy, I'm saying 2 terms. So what's going to happen in 2027? Personally, I don't know, and I think it's actually a good thing, and it's a beautiful thing that we actually don't know, because it means that maybe, just maybe, there's democracy in Kenya. Iko nene.